And now, Mr. President, I want to talk about Afghanistan. The current situation in Afghanistan, for some reason, Pakistan has been blamed for the turn of events by politicians in the United States and some politicians in Europe. From this platform, I want them all to know the country that suffered the most, apart from Afghanistan, was Pakistan when we joined the US war on terror after 9/11. 80,000 Pakistanis died. $150 billion was lost to our economy. There were 3.5 million internally displaced Pakistanis. And why did this happen? In the 80s, Pakistan was a frontline state in fighting against the occupation of Afghanistan. Pakistan and the United States trained mujahideen groups to fight for the liberation of Afghanistan. Amongst those mujahideen groups were Al-Qaeda, were various groups from all over the world. They were mujahideen, Afghan mujahideen. These were considered heroes. President Ronald Reagan invited them to White House in 1983. And according to news items, he compared them to the founding fathers of the United States. They were heroes. Come 1989, the Soviets leave. So do the Americans, abandon Afghanistan. Pakistan was left with 5 million Afghan refugees. We were left with sectarian militant groups which never existed before. But the worst cut of it was that a year later, Pakistan was sanctioned by the US. We felt used. Fast forward 9/11, Pakistan is needed again by the US because now their US-led coalition is now invading Afghanistan, and it could not happen without Pakistan providing all the logistical support. What happened after that? The same mujahideen that we had trained that fighting foreign occupation was a sacred duty, a holy war, or jihad, they turned against us. We were called collaborators. They declared jihad on us. Then all along the tribal belt bordering Afghanistan, the Pakistan semi-autonomous tribal belt, where no Pakistan army had been since our independence, they had strong sympathies with the Taliban, Afghan Taliban, not because of their religious ideology, but because of Pashtun nationalism, which is very strong. Then there were 3 million Afghan refugees still in Pakistan, all Pashtuns, living in camps, 500,000, the biggest camp, 100,000 camps. They all had affinity and sympathies with the Afghan Taliban. So what happened? They too turned against Pakistan. For the first time, we had militant Taliban in Pakistan. And they too attacked Pakistan government. When our army went in the tribal areas for the first time in our history, whenever an army goes into civilian areas, there's collateral damage. So there was collateral damage, which multiplied the militants to seek revenge. But not just that. The world must know that in Pakistan, there were 480 drone attacks conducted by the US. 480 drone attacks. And we all know that drone attacks are not that precise. They cause more collateral damage than the militants they are targeting. So, who did the people whose relatives were being killed? Who did they seek revenge? Against Pakistan. Between 2004 and 2014, there were 50 different militant groups attacking the state of Pakistan. At one point, People like us were worried that will we survive this? There were bombs going all over Pakistan. Our capital was like a fortress. Had it not been for one of the most disciplined army in the world and one of the best intelligence agencies in the world, I think Pakistan would have gone down. So when we hear this at the end, there's a lot of worry about in the US about taking care of the people who helped them, the interpreters and everyone who helped the US. What about us? The only reason we suffered so much was because we became an ally of the US, of the coalition in the war against Afghanistan, where there were attacks being conducted from Afghan soil into Pakistan. At least there should have been a word of appreciation. But rather than appreciation, imagine how we feel when we are blamed for the turn of events in Afghanistan. After 2006, it became apparent to everyone who understood Afghanistan's history that there would be no military solution in Afghanistan. I went to the US, I spoke to think tanks, I met at the time Senator Biden, Senator John Kerry, Senator Harry Reid. I tried to explain to them that there would not be any military solution and political settlement was the way to go forward. No one understood then. And unfortunately, in trying to force a military solution is where US went wrong. And if today, the world needs to know why the Taliban are back in power, all the world has to do is do a deep analysis of why 300,000 well-equipped Afghan army, and remember, Afghans are one of the bravest nations on earth. Why did this 300,000 Afghan army give up without a fight? The moment a deep analysis of this is done, the world would know why the Taliban are back in power, and it's not because of Pakistan. So, Mr. President, right now, the whole world community should think, what is the way ahead? There are two paths we can take. If we neglect Afghanistan right now, according to the UN, half the people of Afghanistan are already vulnerable. And by next year, almost 90% of people in Afghanistan will go below the poverty line. There's a huge humanitarian crisis looming ahead. And this will have serious repercussions, not just for the neighbors of Afghanistan, but it will have repercussions everywhere if a destabilized, a chaotic Afghanistan again becomes a safe haven for international terrorists. The reason why the US came to Afghanistan in the first place. So therefore, there is only one way to go. We must strengthen this current government, stabilize it, for the sake of the people of Afghanistan. What have the Taliban promised? They will respect human rights. They will have an inclusive government. They will not allow this soil to be used by terrorists. And they have given amnesty. Now, if the world community incentivizes them, encourages them to walk this talk, it will be a win-win situation for everyone. Because these are the four things that in Doha, when the US was talking to the Taliban, these were the conditions the dialogue was all about. So if the world can incentivize them to go this direction, then after all, this 20-year of presence, of coalition presence in Afghanistan would not be wasted, because Afghan soil would not be used for international terrorism. So I end my talk, Mr. President, by urging everyone that this is a critical time for Afghanistan. You cannot waste time. Help is needed there. Humanitarian assistance has to be given there immediately. And the Secretary General of the United Nations has taken bold steps. I urge you to mobilize the international community and move in this direction. Thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan for the statement just made. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Irakli Garibashvili, Prime Minister of Georgia. May I request protocol to escort His Excellency.